For a lot of people, video games are a great way to pass time. They are a great way to see vast virtual worlds. From the dark, dank vaults of Fallout to the multitude of planets in StarCraft, there is always something out there for everyone when it comes to video games. Video games are works of art in and of themselves. Not only that, but video games are also a form of media that defines the culture in which they originated from. Video games can be a platform to socialize with your friends. They can be a general form of entertainment, or they can even be a wild and educational experience. I want to introduce a game that I played when I was younger. This wasn't just your average game. This isn't your Tekken, this isn't your Street Fighter, this isn't your Mortal Kombat. This is a very special game, and I believe it'll knock your socks off. Not exactly on a technical scale, or even a gameplay scale, but I think the story will impact you more than anything, and who knows? Maybe you'll even want to pick up a copy of this game for yourself. Welcome to Monster, a documentary about a game that was, wasn't, and could be alive once again. While not having the most riveting design, this is honestly one of the better main menus I've seen in a while. It has a super simplistic design choice, and because of that, you can convey a lot of information without making it hard to navigate. It shows you everything you need to know right off the bat. And it even looks like the game's title, which I'll give some bonus points for creativity on that. One thing I want to say about this game is that it's in Japanese English. Now, you might be wondering, Techmo, what do you mean by this? Well, it's simple. Some things are in English, but 90% of everything else is in Japanese. So something like M in Monster will be matches and then the word in Japanese. But if you look at something like the command list, I can't even tell what the hell is going on here. I don't speak Japanese. So if you decide to head into this game, do keep the language barrier in mind. Monster also has this really neat quirk where it allows the player to choose from 3 different fighting styles, each of which will affect the game in some way, shape, or form. This game has a meter system. I want to compare it to something like Street Fighter, but it's not 100% like Street Fighters. There is a shift ability, and you might be wondering, what the hell does that mean? Well, a shift ability allows you to basically have a certain set of moves depending on the fighting style that you chose. Something I would like to commend this game for is having a rather unique aesthetic. That and its musical score. Just listen to some of these tracks. I could go on and on about the music in this game and how good it is, but we have a review to make. This game does have a pretty diverse cast of characters though. You see, there's a couple of humanoid characters, and most of these characters are anthropomorphic, but they all have their own stylistic nuances. We have characters like Katse, who is more or less focused around physical attacks and punishing moves. I like to think of him as more of like the Ryu or Ken of this game. where he's very basic, and he's the character that sticks out the most. You also have characters like Siley Wilner, who actually somewhat reminds me of Morrigan from Darkstalkers. This character has extremely quick jabs and some slightly ranged magic-based attacks. Not only that, but she also has some damn impressive Shoryuken punches. Punch! Over here you have a character like Rail, who is kinda weird. You see, his gimmick is that while he does quick jabs, he mostly deals damage with his bird. You can use his bird as a sort of projectile, or if you're using different shift abilities with different fighting styles, they all do different things. You can freeze your opponent, you can set your opponent ablaze, or you can deal a lot of damage with just one swing. Personally, he is my favorite character, and is the character that I main in most matches. You also have other characters like Ryugen Sadara. Ryugen is, well, actually kind of broken. I don't really want to talk too much about the fact that he's a ranged melee character, and that his staff does exponential amounts of damage, but he's pretty good if you want to try to get in. His only real cons is that he's rather slow. Speaking of slow characters, we have a ranged tank character. I honestly don't know why Delga's like this. Can he not just be normal? Look, Delga looks cool, and aside from the fact that people really like him on the internet, Delga is probably the worst character in this game. Now I say this because he's slow, but 90% of his effective moves that aren't his command grab and his somewhat weak hits are mostly ranged projectiles or just weird things like punching the ground and having rocks come out of it. Look, Delga might be a cool character, but damn is he ineffective. Maya is probably one of my other favorite characters, just because she's a really weird, quirky, and tricky character to play, and to even go up against. Her entire gimmick is creating mirrored surfaces that allows her to either create a clone of the enemy player, create a clone of herself, or teleport through to attack their enemy. Look, trying to play against Maya in a lot of cases is rather nutty, but if you get the hang of it, you can really learn how to go up against this character. Honestly, she's probably one of the more interesting characters in this game, and with that, she's one of the more complex characters to play, so I probably wouldn't recommend playing as Maya immediately if you start this game, but, I mean, at least there's something interesting when it comes to mana-based combat in this game. Next we have Othello. Othello is somewhat based around John Talbane, mostly in appearance, but he also shares the same special ability as John Talbane, where he launches himself as a projectile towards the other player. He has multiple different types of moves, which includes him ripping out parts of his chest and throwing them as bombs. Ouch. And he doesn't have any physical punching moves, rather he relies on his legs. He can be used to dish out a lot of damage in a fast period of time. So, if you're playing against Othello, try to avoid his leg traps. He also has some pretty nice throws. You have Alexander as well, who, for some reason, really likes the Ouya. Despite being seen as the meme character, Alexander is actually rather good. You see, he has a sword, which renders his attacks to be pretty much unblockable. There's a few attacks that are blockable, but do I really need to specify more than that? A character like Alexander isn't really comparable to a character like Dan from Street Fighter, which, in my opinion, is absolutely scrub tier. And now we have to talk about possibly my third favorite character, Orju. Orju is kind of weird, actually. Man, why do I like all the weird characters? The thing about Orju is that he has multiple different quote-unquote enchantments, which all do different things. On some of them you can do things like place down a fake explosive, while other ones allow you to do mad dashes. Now, each enchantment also changes with each different fighting style, so maybe I'm not getting the complete picture on that one. But all you really need to know is that he has different enchantments that all do very specific and unique things that can help you out in different combat scenarios. Not only that, but hey, fun fact, did you know that this character is a rat? He doesn't look like a rat to me, but he's a rat. Anyways, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. We now have our final character. Okay, what in God's name is going on here? I can't even tell what the hell is going on here. I think this is supposed to be a boss character for the cut story mode of this game, but I can't really tell if this is, like, intentional or not, because in version 1.11b, he doesn't work. He's just Rail in that version. But in this version, I don't know, you get the point. Look, this game's incomplete, and it shows. But is that really a problem? It's not that big of a problem when you actually think about the history of this game, which I'll be getting into here in a couple of seconds, actually. But, all in all, if I had to rank this between S and F on some random tier list sort of thing, then, you know what? I would probably give this game a B. It's really not that bad for an incomplete product. It just makes me wonder what a complete product would have looked like, and how legendary that would have been. Well, let's skip on over to the history. Actually, before we go, I have one last thing to say. There's a Discord server that's up, and, you know, the link's down in the description, and I'll pop it up on the screen right here. But you can get yourself a copy of the game there, and you also can find other people to play with. I implore you to check out Parsec and try playing this game with other people online. We're gonna start off with a person by the name of Sho Kawakami, better known as Shoke. Shoke was a former Capcom character designer and quite possibly a playtester. If you've ever played a game known as Darkstalkers, or Vampire Savior as it's known in Japan, you'll most likely know of a wolf character by the name of John Tulbane. Mr. Kawakami was the original designer of this character. This is very evident once you actually take a look at the character Othello, and even the original color palette that he had at one point. Roughly around 1998, when Darkstalkers was no longer being worked on, Shoke decided to leave Capcom and pursue his own dreams. There was another game that he was a part of called Morei Natsu, which is a rather lewd and... give me a second. Hello?
Anthony, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm talking about the other game that this dev was involved with.
Do not talk about that, okay?
Wait, okay, and why is that? Oh, well, I guess he left. I'm gonna have to add some context, aren't I? Let's just skip past that section and just say that it has some rather gross and illegal shit inside of it. There isn't all that much known about 2004 regarding this game, except for it's possible that this game started development around this period of time. In 2005, Monster was officially out of the concept state and was being worked on by Mr. Kawakami. A version called 199 OTB popped into existence. While I have this build, it's missing quite a few features, and even contains some different art for some of the characters in the game. I have a feeling that this was meant to be like an open beta or a playable teaser of some sort, maybe a marketing pitch, as this game was sold physically. And as you can see here, I managed to obtain a physical copy of this game. Later in that same year, Shokei had figured that he's going to need more hands on deck. So, he hired a few extra people, and thus, 8105 Graphics was founded. 2006 is a content-filled year for this game. Versions 1.00, 1.00D, and 1.01 were all released. And not only that, but some interesting stuff on his blog page, including concept art, models that were used to create sprites in the game, and some stuff even involving a story mode. And dev documents were all posted. Now, I won't read off every single blog post, and instead I'll give you a link down in the description. After the release of another version, 1.0C, a person by the name of Aya Immortal joined 8105 Graphics. 2007 was another juicy year for 8105 Graphics. Aya had talked about his initial feelings for the original game and why it didn't do well in America when the online trailer version came out, or 199OTB as it's also known as. Version 1.11b also released. This is Aya's least favorite version, and to the best of my knowledge, this is possibly the last publicly released version out there. There were also some arcade location tests that were done for the original version, which was most likely a benchmarking tool for something rather large. 1.11b was the last publicly released version on PC. There were two other versions in the works which would have been updates to version 1.11b, but they never got released. And this is when we stare into the infinite abyss known as development hell. So a while earlier I had mentioned that there were some arcade location tests. What if I told you that between 2007 through 2008 on forward, there was a sequel to this game? And this sequel was known as Monster: Ancient Klein. You see, Monster and Monster Ancient Klein get confused for one another a lot, despite being fairly different games from what I understand. One of them has a multi-fighting style system that impacts every character, while the other game has it remain the same thing for each character. By the way, yes, everything you see in the background is Ancient Klein stuff. This isn't the original Monster, and this isn't just some random update. This is the cancelled sequel. While Ancient Klein did keep its original cast of characters, it did actually add some more. There were 6 new characters. I'll put them up on the screen here. And you can just tell that there was a lot of effort put into each one. You might be wondering, how did this sequel get cancelled? If the first one did reasonably well in both Japan and North America, how did this get canceled? Well, this is where we need to talk about another company by the name of Examu. Examu was a fairly large company that was involved with the Arcana Hearts series and in the production of the Japanese exclusive X-Board arcade console. Examu and 8105 Graphics had worked out a small publishing deal, which allowed Monster Ancient Klein to be used in arcades. So that's where those arcade location tests came from. Interesting. However, there were a few small mishaps, mostly with Sho Kawakami not showing up to any of the meetings that Examu had planned. Examu had cut itself out of the picture. With 8105 Graphics out of a deal, they didn't really have anything else that they could do. Arc System Works approached Sho Kawakami, and even Shoke faded out of the picture. 8105 Graphics disbanded shortly afterwards, and the entire project had faded away. There was another monster game that was also planned. It was called Monster Retribution. It was a 32-character 2v2 tag team game. Yeah, I don't know how that would have worked. I'm gonna be real, but I mean, it sounds fun. But enough of this nonsense. There is still something I've got to talk about, and it's pretty important. Damn, that was a lot to unpack. And I'm fairly certain that you probably have somewhere to be, so I'll try to make this a little quicker. After 8105 Graphics collapsed, there was one last person, that being Aya Immortal. You might be wondering why I'm coming back to Aya after I've just discussed basically everything him and Shoke have been involved with. Well, that's because he was the only person on that team that I knew spoke English. That, and he was the only person in the first place I was able to contact. You see, he's what I like to call a lone wolf developer. Basically, he is the only developer even coming close to keeping this project alive, and that's something that I admire. There are hundreds of games that enter development purgatory, and most of them don't deserve to be there. I'm of the presupposition of we should preserve media for as long as we possibly can. Maybe that's just the fact that I work at a library, and maybe I'm just getting a little too sentimental about this, but honestly, we can save this game. I want you to take a look at all of these. Over here we have plenty of ideas that were scrapped, works of art, shit on and thrown in the trash. There were developers who loved these games like they were their children. And while we can't save them all from the cold embrace of the void, there is one that we have the opportunity to save. I implore you guys to go to the official 8105 Monster Discord. Yes, Aya is hosting a Discord server there, and there is a high likelihood that with enough people we can get this game published. We can do it.
Hello, I am one of the creators of Monster. I want to thank you for joining my new Discord channel for this game. I'd like to explain to you what is going on with the game so you have a clear understanding of what my intentions are. There seems to be some confusion about what is going to happen with Monster, so let me shed some light on that. After recent events where I was looking at a Rogue Yoshi stream, I decided to look into doing something with Monster again, and I have not decided if I'm actually going to move forward with doing more with it. So the purpose of this is to build a community to gauge interest. The older versions of Monster, 1.01 and 1.11b, will not be changed. I have no desire to make any additional changes to these versions of the game. The only version up for discussion is the unreleased arcade version, Monster Ancient Klein. If, and only if, there is enough people interested in this game, then I may move forward with its release, and getting things underway with that. That version is mostly complete and is lacking a netcode. Originally, we had someone working on a netcode, but unfortunately times got rough and I was unable to continue the project any further. I appreciate all of the love and support Monster has gotten over the years, and I hope that with enough support that I can finally reach my dream of giving Monster the light it deserves. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, but for right now, I hope you can understand my position. Thank you.
Sometimes I wish that I could just let you go. Sometimes I wish that I could forget you so. Run away from the pain and fate. I just can't help it. No, I just can't help it. Run away from all the pain in me. I just can't help it. No, I just can't help it.
And what's crazy to me is what you never see and what you believe. When you feel love for someone so deep, it's so hard to comprehend. When you told the problems you had within and you put that much trust into them, you just can't understand. When they look you in your eyes and they call you amazing, just to find out they're faking. Cause pain and love go hand in hand, but I will never fully understand why you did what you did, but you did it. Sometimes I lay abed at night wondering if you regret it. All I know is meeting you, I regret it. Yeah, I wish I never did it. I regret it.
Run away from the pain and fate. I just can't help it. No, I just can't help it. Run away from all the pain in me. I just can't help it. No, I just can't help it.
Sometimes I look back in life like God tell me why. When everything seemed to be going right is when I found out it was all lies. And people closest to me fly away like a kite, and I'm left here alone. Anxiety and fear, I'll always be alone. Shut everyone out, I don't even answer my phone, cause I don't wanna trust someone that I don't know. I put on this I'm okay look, but it blows. The truth is I just don't know, yeah. The truth is I just don't know where to go. I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know.
Run away from the pain and fate. I just can't help it. No, I just can't help it. Run away from all the pain in me. I just can't help it. No, I just can't help it.